Liz Kennedy, welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to know you. It is such a pleasure to meet someone who has such an interesting parallel background and spiritual connection as I do. And it's really interesting. You've had a fascinating career. You've built yourself up as one of the leaders in the beauty space, but you also teach women how to be magnetic based on spiritual principles, not just look beautiful. Welcome to the podcast.
This is going to be a good one. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I think it's imperative that people understand how we magnetized one another because it was kind of
Absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah, I think so too. Please, I'd love to hear your version of it.
I was in Miami. I felt called to go to see one of my friends. She invited me to a Shabbat dinner, and we all went around and told everyone a little bit about ourselves. And then this beautiful woman was like, hey, this is my story. And I also happen to have an agenda to help women. I walk over to you. We start chatting. Turns out we have, both of us, family ties to Kabbalah, which is part of the reason why we feel like we have a mission and an agenda on earth to help women. And it just goes to show that absolutely nothing is by accident. And now you're stuck with me for life.
I love it. I'm down for that. Honestly, I've been on this journey of finding the people that I want to do life with, and pressure cooking it, testing it, really showing up, like asking friends to like let me rise to the occasion for them, like telling them how they can rise to the occasion for me. So if you want like a long form, like let's do this and conquer the world, I'm your girl. So that's the vibe.
Yeah.
100%. For those listening, I just realized Kabbalah may be a foreign concept. And I think it'd be interesting if both you and I define it through the way that we think about it, especially because our ancestors are both tied to it.
First and foremost, Kabbalah, it's a form of mysticism, which may sound very strange to someone that doesn't know what the word mysticism is. The principles and the teachings of Kabbalah or Kabbalah are really profound. Just like there are physical laws in this life, there are spiritual laws. And as the age of Aquarius is coming up and people are more inclined to find enlightenment, I find that a lot of people, they may love their religion, or maybe they're not crazy about religion anymore, but they know and they feel something bigger or higher is around them, and they feel some sort of divine intuition that they want to understand things in more depth. Totally. So Kabbalah is really the spiritual principles of life and answers a lot of the questions that many times the physical world cannot. So again, just like there's physical laws in this world, there are also spiritual laws. And as women, we have such a big vessel. We are actually here designed to be on earth to not just help ourselves, but to help men understand their spiritual well-being and to help guide them. So it's really fascinating to see people really become more interested and more in tune with spirituality. And I feel like it is my mission on earth in this lifetime to help women because of my connection lineage-wise to Kabbalah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fascinating. And I would honestly define it similarly. It's like a way of creating a sense of, it's a framework to like the chaos of how life kind of manifests into the form that we see it. And it allows like a deeper form of structure and understanding of like the why that all of this is happening and what it means. And I think some people are familiar with like 22 pathways through the tarot and like different forms of these extrapolated versions that once came from like the Kabbalistic wisdom. But I think that it's, really fascinating what our ancestors excavated with that. And I do think it has a place in the modern world. And I've also seen like across the spectrum of human potential, I've seen people live lives that are quite religious. I've seen people live lives that are not religious. I've seen people, gain wealth and money and all these things, but without having some form of spiritual connection. All of that, the thrill of that fades and it becomes a nihilistic, like meaningless life without having like a true sense of purpose. So I think it's a beautiful thing that you're like bringing this to people's attention, because analogously, like beauty is kind of that, right? It's like beauty is this surface level thing that fades. Vitality is internal, and beauty can be expression of vitality, but beauty is skin deep, as they say. And I think for you to bring awareness that like beauty isn't just skin deep, there's a way to cultivate it internally with your energy, with your spirituality, with other things. I think that is fascinating. I'd love to hear more about that.
Beauty for me is so imperative, not just to my mental health, but caring about the way you look is important. The way you present yourself to the world is important. But there's no purpose of having that if the internal is not matching it.
Mm-hmm.
I get frustrated because quite often people villainize wanting beauty, money, travel, whatever it may be in the physical 3D realm.
Mm-hmm.
But we are put here to enjoy those things. However, quite often people tend to enjoy those things and then forget to really look inside. You have to go within to also appreciate the external. And for me, beauty is a ritual. And as women, it is imperative that we do these things, not just from an aesthetic approach, but from a mental approach.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often, the word self-care is used a lot in marketing, and it's really become kind of frustrating to see it turn into such a marketing term because it's taken away from what it really is. It's
100%.
self-care, it's self-respect.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to spend time healing your skin, applying things that make you feel and look beautiful. It's important to take 10, 15 minutes out of your day to create these practices and these rituals, just like they did in ancient times.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just modernizing it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that due to technology, the stimulation of our world, people have created a disconnection with themselves to where they need like a reason or kind of a pathway to know how to connect with themselves again?
Absolutely. I think there's such a significant beauty to AI even. Technology is going to completely change the way we think. Look what ChatGPT is doing. But nothing can ever compete with human connection like this or self-respect in the terms of self-care. There's certain things that can never be replaced, but why not take advantage of those modern things while also simultaneously using ancient rituals?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the concerns that I have for women these days, and I've just noticed this, I've interviewed a lot of women, talked to them, is that they're following influencers online that are promoting these, 3, 5, 10-step rituals to take care of themselves. And I worked in the beauty industry. I designed some of the first AI solutions for Benefit Cosmetics. I've seen the data. I know a lot of this stuff isn't legit. Like you don't need all this stuff all the time. Sure, there may be like one ingredient that really helps, but like having all these different products is really just a way to keep making money off the consumer instead of like actually honoring what they truly need. And so my concern is that through the desire to connect with themselves, these women are getting exploited. And also, get ready with me videos, hundreds of billions of views across all social medias. What does that tell us about society? It shows that like women are bonding with each other around learning how to put on masks. Women are bonding with each other around like changing themselves and transforming themselves. And I think there's a beauty to that, but it also makes me curious, how can women bond with each other more deeply to where there doesn't need to be that mechanism of like, we have to look a certain way to suddenly be hot or attractive or worthwhile to watch on social media? And maybe that's something you can speak to, because it sounds like you're helping women find that fine line of like, this is how to be beautiful, but not rely on all these products and all these things to be good enough, but also like, beauty fundamentally has to come from a deeper place, or else you can do all the plastic surgery and train yourself and wear all the makeup and still feel horrible about yourself.
Absolutely.
And there's so many examples of that on the internet.
Correct. First off, I believe when it comes to products, people are like, well, what's your favorite product? I'm like, I hate this question, because whether it's a $10 product from a drugstore or a $300 product, there really is a time and a place for every single product. And I'm a product junkie just because I love ingredients. I love how they work. I love performance-based products. I also love very all-natural, non-toxic, quote unquote, products, because I like to experiment, and I just love the feeling of using a product. For me, it's really like it's such a beautiful feeling to experience something. For me, everything's an experience. So that's the way I look at it. I know other women don't, but putting on products to me is a ritual. So for me, it's less like, how can I be super hot today? I'm like, wow, this is such an experience. How blessed am I that I get to
Like the
try these,
sensations,
the texture, the
texture,
feeling,
the
the
tactile
smell. Like,
element of it. Yeah.
I love it. It's such a beautiful moment for me, especially as a mother, as a working mother, as a daughter, as a friend, as a significant other. It's my time, and I honor it. And if it's used for that, plus elevating your aesthetics, I think that's a beautiful thing. Sure, consumerism is without a doubt an issue, especially in American society. But when it comes to beauty, it's such an interesting thing, because what's considered beautiful in America is not necessarily considered beautiful in Israel. What's considered beautiful in Israel is not necessarily considered beautiful in Ireland.
You don't think like the same homogenized look from social media of like the big lips and the angular faces and like the eyelashes and like the kind of Kardashian style look, you don't think that homogenized look is
No.
making it everywhere?
No, because you look in places like Nigeria, the aesthetic there is a certain way.
Yeah.
The Dutch have a very specific aesthetic. The Irish have a very specific aesthetic. In Iran, it's a very specific aesthetic. And it really is based on how you feel the most beautiful, because the way you feel that you look the best, like I know where I feel the best in terms of aesthetic, weight, energy. And when I feel that I'm there, I pull everything in. The second that I don't, my whole energy shifts, and energy doesn't lie. So you could be a certain look, a certain aesthetic, and it doesn't really matter, because you could be the most quote unquote textbook beautiful, walk into a room. But if your energy is not there, people feel it. You cannot lie about energy. You can wear a mask as long as you want. You can wear that mask. You can wear a million products and you could be stunning. But no one's going to want that if they feel the inner ugliness.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there's been a fascinating, I talk to guys about this all the time. And there's been a fascinating correlation with men feeling almost like, for the women who do the full makeup look all the time, and I'm talking like the full contouring, the eyelashes are like perfectly refined. They look like they just stepped out of like a reality TV show.
Sure.
Like men are very hesitant to relate with those kinds of women because they find that like some latch onto that like mask so much, and underneath of that is so much insecurity, and there's all of this like self-loathing and hatred, and it's like they need to do that all the time to feel like they're good enough because like all their role models look that way, right? Sure. And so I think it's interesting how we're living in a time where all this blew up over the last like 5 years. Like before the pandemic, people were, you know, like making fun of Kylie Jenner for doing the lip injections thing, and it wasn't like as popular. But then during the pandemic, it really hit. And part of the reason it hit, which I thought was kind of interesting, is so realistically, men are not going to look at a woman and be like, wow, if her lips were just a little bit bigger, I'd like her, or I'd want her.
Sure.
But like women compete with other women through their beauty, right? And so when you think about like, why do big lips matter? Like big lips signal fertility, right? Big lips on the face signal like big lips below the waist, which is basically a sign that you're like,
I didn't think of it that way.
You're
at
like
all.
a fertile mate, right?
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, so your lips swell in both places when you're aroused.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that totally makes sense.
So it's like a primal cue that happened during the pandemic, during a time where no one was touching each other. Everyone was isolated, for women to signify they're the more fertile mate than maybe the other woman. And it's not like they're not thinking like, oh, I'm trying to beat out these other women. They're just seeing other women do it and be like, oh, I want to look that hot too, or I want that effect too. So it's very subconscious, but I think it's really interesting. This all blew up during a time where like instead of touching and feeling and being with the energy of what's real, people are just seeing things through a screen and like, you know, then they're like adjusting and altering their features to signal something primal that they don't even know that they're doing because they're not actually getting that contact.
I think, so to be very transparent, I have lip filler. I've done surgery and I'm really happy with what I've done personally. My mom has no surgery, would never touch anything that I've done. She thinks it's crazy, but she feels the most beautiful the way she looks, and I feel the most elevated the way I look. what frustrates me and what I'm here to help with women, in my opinion, is there's nothing wrong with all of these things. But instead of looking to men for that validation, you have to do it for yourself. And you should always, your agenda should always be to look like the most elevated version of yourself, not to look like someone else.
Totally.
That should always be the agenda. Because if you're out here trying to look like someone else, you're never going to be happy. And if you're doing it for male validation, you will also never be happy.
Yeah, totally.
But I am a big pusher of doing things that make you feel the most beautiful, because if it's coming from a healthy place and not from a place of lack, which Kabbalah often speaks about, if you're doing things from a place of lack, that energy will just leak like a leaky gut into other areas of your life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how many surgeries you get. It doesn't matter, even for men, if they get the hair transplant, the veneers, if they're not internally happy, they will have leak within every aspect of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you pointed something really special, and it's the nuance of understanding like the right proportions. Like when I look at you, it doesn't scream like, oh, I've done a lot of work. Like you've nailed what works for you to be yourself. And I think that's really a beautiful thing. And I think that a lot of women have been looking to find these role models or these people, or social media influences them, probably like against their will, but they keep consuming the content. So like it is, I guess, consensual. But all of a sudden they look completely different than who they are. And I really want to dig into that. I think there's an art to finding that balance.
Yes.
And I'm curious how you help others find that balance and how you find that balance in yourself.
It's an art because transparently, I get every cosmetic treatment I want for free, every makeup product for free. And I could easily go overboard if I wasn't in a healthy mindset. And my mission is always to show women, hey, here are the options in beauty. Here's what's available, to give that education. But then they can make their own educated response, if you will. But all these things exist, and why not show all of it and be like, hey, this is actually what's out here, but it's up to you to make sure you're also mentally elevated so that you're coming from a place of wanting to always elevate, not transform into something else.
Totally. Yeah, it sounds like you've really kind of nailed that, and obviously it's been landing. Your videos have been going viral, and I'm curious what's been underneath all of that for you.
I paused a lot of my magnetic content for 6 months because I was going through something personally that did not make me feel magnetic. I went through something rather traumatic that made me realize I cannot be teaching women how to be magnetic if I'm not magnetic.
Yeah.
And I took those 6 months to really heal. I really did what felt called to my soul. After doing that work, I started writing a lot of scripts using my wisdom of Kabbalah and Torah and my studies, and making it relatable and digestible for women that perhaps don't understand spirituality, don't understand Torah, and maybe they never care to. Maybe they're Christian, maybe they're Muslim, maybe they're Arab, maybe they're Hindu, but we all share that commonality of wanting to be the most elevated versions of ourselves. And with that, I made it modern. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just modernizing Kabbalah and allowing women to understand, hey, this is how to make it through these really difficult situations. And to be honest, life has been my biggest teacher. Quite often, I feel like I've been every woman, and I've been in so many different situations. Sometimes I get frustrated with God. I'm like, why have you put me through so much? This is exhausting. And then I'm like, I've been put through this so that I can help other women.
It's very exhausting. It is so exhausting. I just want to say, like,
but for a reason. For a reason. Nothing is by accident. We know this as spiritual women. Nothing is by accident. So if we shift our perspective to why is this happening to me versus why is this happening for me, even though that sounds so textbook cliche, it's the truth. It's spiritual law. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. And the second that you can shift that mentality, you see the world through a different lens and you become more magnetic.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like I've often thought I chose making money in male-dominated spheres as the thing that I do, and I've like stuck with it even though I know I can go into modeling, like whatever. I have the body that can do, you know, bathing suits and like digital and that kind of thing. And I stuck with it. I'm like, I'm going to make money in male dominated industries. And I've been in tech, I've been in finance. It has been horrible. It has been so exhausting. It is like so overrated. It is still difficult. I'm like in the hiring process to lead US business development for a publicly traded company. And it's like, even just like every little detail has been hard. There's not been one thing that has been easy. Nothing.
But you were put
It's
there for a
exhausting.
reason. But you have the vessel for it.
Yeah.
You can't be put in situations that you can't handle.
Yeah.
That's what we have to. The bigger the vessel, the more the situations you're
Yeah.
put in to test you,
Totally.
to elevate you. You know, every year we go through the Omer.
Yeah.
And via Judaism, it's meant to test your soul to see if you're ready to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And
for
all
sure.
these tests are to show us what our tikkun is and what our correction is to see what's next.
Yeah. I think like one of the things you said that made this come to the surface for me is like you've been through hard challenges because you know if you stick the path, you'll gain the wisdom and be able to help others. And a lot of it has to do with like thriving, you know, and you're doing very technical stuff. You're helping brands grow. You're doing strategy. Like all of that could technically be stated in male dominated spheres,
Mhm.
right? You're not modeling, you're not in beauty, you're not in entertainment. Like you're actively on the more technical side of like scaling revenue and growth and all of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, it just inspired me to say what I just said, because similarly, it has been an agonizing journey being a woman in male dominated spheres.
Mhm.
And I keep feeling like it's going to get better, and it does not. It has been almost a decade in this position, and I keep holding on to it because I'm like, I want to eventually achieve something to then be able to like help other women, put them on opportunities. You know, like something really crazy? I've interviewed over 13 women now for my podcast. Do you know how many women I've interviewed have told me they've had a female mentor?
Really? None?
None.
I've had multiple.
Really?
Some of my favorite mentors
Tell me about
were
that.
women. I also believe the pendulum always swings. And in everything in life, there has to be yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the number 8 is so fascinating in Kabbalah, because it's infinity.
Mm-hmm.
The upper loop is towards the spiritual and the bottom's towards the physical. Hence the infinity aspect of it. It's that balance. Everything must return to balance. And men and women, they both need each other simultaneously. It's that harmonious balance. Not to say women can't do everything on their own, but there's a beauty to having that balance.
Yeah.
You know, like I would love every woman to get to a place financially where they're helping each other and using one another so that they only revert to men for what they're designed to be there for, true love and intimacy.
Yeah.
That's what we're really put on this earth with the opposite sex with, is to have that true love and intimacy.
Agreed.
Not to use.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a yin and a yang.
I agree.
When it comes to my mentors, some of my favorite mentors have been women. Sarah McNamara, she's the CEO of Peter Thomas Roth.
Nice.
She helped me significantly in the beginning of my career. She actually gave me an art piece of one of the most iconic women in the beauty space. And she gave it to me. She goes, "You're next. This is going to look over your business." And I'll never forget that. I was 25 years old. And I said, one day it'll be passed on to someone else. And that forever impacted the way that I felt about how women should use, help, and leverage and elevate one another so that we're constantly elevating. Constantly. That should always be the agenda. And if it's not happening for you, it's to show you what you're meant to do.
I love that. What are some of the ways that you're currently helping women with your business and just in general in your life?
Creating
just, like,
content
the
for
content,
me,
yeah.
that is, I mean, for me, that is the fastest, quickest, most significant way that I've been able to help women at a mass level, because one-on-one, it's beautiful and it's great to have that human interaction. Of course, like you can't ever beat that.
Yeah.
But a lot of women can't necessarily access me one-on-one, or don't have the money, or don't have the time. And perhaps they're breastfeeding and they can't even listen to my voice. They can only read text
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock in the morning while they're bleeding
Mm.
from every crevice of their body.
Oh my
And they
gosh.
just need 60 seconds to themselves. I
Wow.
know that feeling.
Wow.
And I needed those 60 seconds. Otherwise, I was in a very dark place.
Yeah.
So for me, if you have the gift of voice chakra, which I believe is my gift,
Mm.
I have to use it to help as many women as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And social media has given me the opportunity to do so. If I didn't have social media, I think I would have to probably just revert to trying to get as many women in one room as possible. And that's the beauty of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. What does your end game look like? Like, if you could look back in the next 5 years and be like, I've literally achieved everything, I've fully made it, I've had the impact I want, what does that look like for you?
Well, as a spiritual woman with a huge
Mhm.
vessel like yourself, I feel that I'll always want to do more and be more and help more.
Mm-hmm.
But in the next 5 years, I will be speaking globally
Mm-hmm.
on many stages to hundreds of women, while having them at least have a little fun too, not just
Yeah.
learning, but like
Yeah.
everything I do, I try to inject a lot of fun into it, because I grew up in a really serious, I grew up with a single mom, money
Mm.
was tight. We grew up in a serious situation. I didn't get to be a child much.
Mm.
So, and even in college, I was working like 5 jobs, studying.
Wow, 5 jobs, working 5 jobs
I
in
was
college?
doing everything. I was
Oh my
bartending.
gosh.
I was dog walking. I was doing the most. I had to pay for school on my own. My mom only paid for like the
Jeez.
first year. I did not do well in school because I loved human connection. The only class I ever got an A in was public speaking. Of
Wow.
course, you
Yeah.
know, and history I got like a B, because both of those things till this day fascinate me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine doing anything other than that. I'm sure I will eventually write a book as to why I got here and how I got here, but helping as many women globally as possible and making it fun
Totally.
at the same time. We always have to inject fun
Absolutely.
into everything that we do. That should always be the goal.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have this philosophy that our society is designed based on a man's creative process. So think about it this way. Men are biologically programmed to create life at any moment. And like the way our society is set up is like you are kind of shot into like the school format, then you have to go to college, then you have to work, and it's like this J curve to like you have the wealth, the fame, the success, or the retirement if you don't make it like as far as society deems like the highest place.
That's the standard bell curve.
Yeah, it's like the J curve. Whereas when you look at men, it's like very similarly. They have this infinite amount of, I guess you could say, sperm to like inseminate life at literally any time.
Sure.
Whereas like women are very different. We're very cyclic. There's like one moment that we get to create life and things like build up. And if we have the resources and everything we need, we'll be able to create life with that. And so I feel that a lot of the women are not able to truly contribute and add that 0 to 1 innovation in humanity because they're so fundamentally burnt out from being like put through this process. Like
Sure.
most women don't even take time off to menstruate. They don't honor the cyclic nature of our energy, our bodies, the way we fundamentally work.
Mhm.
And so I had this idea. I actually just got my 501c3 approved, and I'm going to
Wow.
start raising donations into it. And once I get to a certain amount, I'll invest. And then once I get the dividends, I'll start experimenting with these like grants that I have in mind. But I'm really curious to create like a blueprint and model of how to actually help women have the 0 to 1 moment that they want to have. And I think the universal complaint a lot of really entrepreneurial, gifted women have is it's so exhausting to be both the provider and the innovator. And that's just really not how we were designed. Like, I think of men and women like a tree. Like men are like the branches, or men are the roots and the trunk, women the branches and flowers. So like men are supposed to kind of like provide that support, that pedestal, and the woman like expands that, catalyzes it into the universe, bears fruit, blossoms.
Mm.
And so when women are forced to like worry about survival, worry about like getting the sheer nutrients they need to blossom,
That they can't be the
it's
feminine.
spread too thin.
For
Exactly.
sure. For sure.
So I think that's a big piece.
We all struggle with that. I still struggle with that.
Yeah, it
But
seems
the
like you've
truth
gone through a
is-
lot.
But the truth is you don't have to start big. You know, there's all these women online that are like, you need to spend an hour a day doing self-care. And I'm like, I don't know if that's realistic for everyone. Start small. Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes, start with 15 minutes. Do things at night to prepare yourself so that your morning's a little easier. If you have to pack lunch, do it at night. If you have to do your hair, do it in the evening, even if you're tired, so you can wake up a little softer.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about like starting your day just a little softer. You know, like I always say, just start small, start somewhere.
Yeah.
You may not have the time yet. You may not have the money yet, but you can start somewhere. And it doesn't have to be this master thing. I always tell, it's funny, anyone in my life knows this about me. When I have a lot of stress, or I'm angry, or I'm frustrated, or I got into it with someone, recently I actually got into an argument with a man that I cared very deeply about. And I was so frustrated and I was reactive, and I hate that side of me. It's something that I'm not proud of, because for how spiritual I am, I can definitely be reactive. And this is my tikkun. This is my correction in this lifetime. But I'm a human being. Of course, we all have human
You're a passionate
moments.
woman that
We all
cares
have
a lot.
we all have human moments.
Totally.
But what works for me, and what I wish every woman would do, because this has never failed me, the second I get frustrated, I go for a run. I go for a walk. We underestimate the power of moving our bodies. Even if you don't want to run, I know everyone's not a runner, but moving yourself and exerting that energy physically is life-changing. I don't care if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes. It'll change everything. And I wish more people had that mentality around it and about it, because I get confused how people don't exert their energy. I'm like, what do you do with that energy? Where does it go?
It stores stress, cortisol, like
resentment.
Resentment. It ferments and turns into different emotions.
And then you get bitter and angry. Exert it. Exert your
Release
energy,
it.
and your body will always look better.
Totally.
Like, if you
100%.
exert your energy, your body will always thank you,
Totally.
energetically wise and physically wise. And who doesn't want to alchemize pain into power?
Yeah. Honestly, I would be a fool to not ask you what some of your like secret life hacks are, with some of your favorite things you love to do every single day. I've actually found personally, for me, celery juice every day, starting my day with that.
Yeah, your skin
Meditation,
shows it.
Ashtanga, yoga when I'm in New York City. That combination it's been like a game changer.
For sure.
But I'd love to hear what yours are, because I feel like you've probably like nailed some of these like life hacks.
I have. I want to be the person that's like, I wake up and drink lemon water in the morning. I'm still trying to get there. But for me, it's the power of prayer. I start every morning with nothing crazy, again, just a few minutes, something to connect to something other than myself, other than the 3D. Then I go into full skincare routine. And I'm not talking 15, 20, 30 minutes. A few minutes where I'm alone and I listen to Hertz music. Hertz music, Hertz, for those who don't know, it's considered the music of angels, because it's quite literally, it's a vibrational sound that alters your neurological wires in your brain. It's scientifically proven. So I try to listen to that a few minutes every morning and a few minutes every night. I am a coffee addict. I need like a beautiful bougie cup of coffee, whether I make it or whether I buy it. Like, that for me is like when I have to fast for the holiday, it's the coffee. Because for me, it's such like it's an experience. Everything I do, I try to make it an experience. It's really imperative that everything's like I try to make everything in my life beautiful.
Yeah, it's like a meditation,
even
like
the
a
small
moving
moments.
meditation.
It's a huge passion of mine, and it needs to always like feel, taste, and look beautiful. But other than that, aside from my typical work day, I have to move my body at minimum 30 minutes every single day. And then food for me is a source of nourishment. I don't believe in intermittent fasting. I believe in eating frequently, nourishing meals. I know people love intermittent fasting. I just feel like nourishment at all times is really imperative, and listening to your body. Yeah. Listen to your body. And the 80-20 method always works for me. I try to eat as whole organic foods as I can. And then the 20% I'm a human being. I want to enjoy what I want to enjoy.
Absolutely.
And I don't feel bad for it, and I never will.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think every person has to find that balance in themselves. And one of the interesting things that you said that I want to come back to was the fact that you pray every day.
Every day.
And I know the internet has become saturated with like healers and coaches and gurus of all kinds. And maybe some are real, maybe some are not. But I think what's really interesting is this wasn't a revelation that just came to you that you should be this person. It's literally in your blood. It's in your DNA. And I really think that's worth speaking to. And so 2 questions I have for you. One is, how is the inspiration from your grandfather, who is known for his studies in Kabbalah and his contributions, how has that influenced your ability to understand the world, understand life, pull inspiration from his story for your own? And in coming to the internet and being courageous enough to share about him and these teachings, have you been met with any anti-Semitism in the process, or has it been well received?
Such a loaded question.
I know.
I love it though.
Yeah.
So to answer the first part.
I'll back it. I want a loaded question. I know. I just want.
But it's good. Those are
like,
really good. Those are fantastic questions.
questions.
So my great-grandfather, Baba Sali, was a Moroccan Kabbalist from Morocco. So he was teaching Kabbalah to Muslims, Christians, Arabs, and he was really passionate about teaching this wisdom in general. He didn't care what you were, what your background was. That's why when he passed, people from all over the world came to his gravesite. So I'm so inspired by him and his work because he didn't care who anyone was. He just wanted everyone to be the most elevated, magnetic versions of themselves. And for me, it changed everything once I started to learn about who he was. I was just in awe of how someone could dedicate their entire lives to helping people. For me, I'm always like, how can I always feel, look, and be my best self while teaching other women how to be like that too? He just inspired me so much to be that person for women and to show women that you can be everything. You can have everything. Kabbalah always teaches us that if you desire something, it means that it exists for you. It's not a bad thing to have and want everything, as long as you're always the most elevated version of yourself and sharing your light. Whatever it is, your light, it needs to be shown. And you need to shine your light, and always with the agenda of trying to help someone along the way. We aren't quote unquote chosen because we're better than anyone. We're chosen to lead by example. And I truly believe that. So that's always my agenda, first and foremost. As far as anti-Semitism, this is obviously a huge issue, especially with current society and what's happening, regardless of political beliefs. Anti-Semitism, racism of any sort should never be accepted. And if college students were on campus saying, remove the blacks, remove the Spanish, there would be world outrage, severe world outrage.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism has always been a massive issue for me, to the point where my son, who is the sweetest child, as you know.
He's a little angel boy.
He's an angel.
Congratulations.
On earth, and he's beyond beautiful, to the point that he's just such a special soul. And I've received many anti-Semitic comments about how he should die. So I actually stopped posting him completely on social media.
Oh, wow.
I don't really like children on the internet anyway.
Yeah.
But anti-Semitism is something that I've experienced countless of times, even when I was working on TV shows. I just think it comes down to education. And the more I share my light with people, the more I realize that you are attracted to my light. So you should also be okay with me being who I am. And if you're not, that's okay too. I will still send you light and love, but this is me, and I'm unapologetic about it.
I love that. I'm curious about, I think that that's definitely a balance of having that almost like graceful dominance of knowing how to own who you are and be that woman, and having it come off in the right way. Because on one hand, it's like being a dominant woman is very intimidating to a lot of people. And for others, it's amazing and a beautiful thing. And I'm curious what your journey has been like forging your path in your career, because you're obviously very clear on who you are and you're very clear on what you want. And have you experienced the same friction that I speak to when I'm just saying, like, oh my God, it's so exhausting to navigate male dominated spaces? And my friction has been just simply like, yeah, there's just a lack of opportunity for women. You can show up with an insane amount of accolades and metrics and case studies and references, and it's just the inbound is nothing compared to male peers who even have half that.
Sure.
And then, I've been taken advantage of by people,
Sure.
People not following through, like not really taking things seriously. Um,
All by design, by the way.
yeah.
All by design.
Yeah, and it's been very difficult to continue, and so I'm curious.
This is probably your tikkun. This is your
Yeah.
correction, because it's
Yeah.
something you struggle with and something I
Yeah.
feel so deeply
Yeah.
from you.
I'm kind of in the middle of, like, this
Which
deal
we all
right
have,
now
by the way. We
that's
all have our
boring,
corrections,
yeah.
we
Totally.
all do.
But yeah, how do you navigate that balance? Because, like, you're clear, you know what you want. Like,
Mhm.
have you been able to find that path, or have you felt that friction too? Have you really had to, like, push your way forward?
Yes and no.
Mhm.
I have definitely struggled with male encounters, especially if you are a woman that's considered attractive in the space. You will always get that. But what's gotten me through a lot of these moments is consciousness.
Mhm.
Every day, I didn't even mention this in my routine. When I'm driving, if I'm at a red light, I look at myself in my
Mm.
car mirror and I say, I am magnetic. I attract people who think and act like me.
Mm.
I have this. I am this, not
Mm.
I want. That's not in action to the universe response.
Mm.
So for me, a lot of it is consciousness. My first investors were Muslim and Arab, and they're two of my closest friends. I admire them so
That's
deeply.
incredible.
And they are the most amazing men till this date that I really deeply adore.
Mhm.
And I always say to myself in the universe, I want more of them. I
Mhm.
want more of that. I want men who see my strengths, whether they're married, whether they're not, that want to help
Mhm.
me, that
Mhm.
see me for who I really am at a soul level
Mhm.
and want to help me elevate there and make a lot of money while they do it.
Totally.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
So, yes, I have met on the flip side, men have, but also women have taken advantage of me in business, in friendship, and in real life. It's okay. It's like in the kingdom, the female lion,
Mhm.
she licks her wounds and then she takes over her kingdom again. And she's the one
Yeah.
that really makes the decisions. The male lions look to the female lions and she will literally lick her wounds and keep it moving and still rule her kingdom. And that's how I look at it. I get down, I fall, I lick my wounds. And the same thing I say to my child who's 5.5 years old,
Mm.
I follow the same principle. I always say to him, what do we do when we fall? He goes, we get back up.
Oh, that's so sweet.
We've been
Yeah.
hearing this since we were kids.
Yeah.
We're not
For sure.
reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
We're just relearning it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you've touched on some interesting points. And when I think about what draws women to be magnetic, it's, all women tend to want the same things, right? It's like a fulfilling life path, career, potentially, to be a mother. I think pretty much every woman I've ever talked to would love true love, right?
Of
Like that's
course.
like a huge thing to magnetize. And I'm wondering how love plays a role in your life. And if that's something you've magnetized, are magnetizing, where does that stand for you?
How does love play a role in Liz Kennedy's life? I have experienced some of the most incredible men in my
Mhm.
lifetime.
Yeah.
I've also realized that as I evolve, my soul evolves, and I desire and crave different things.
Mhm.
And I'm at the point in my life now where I'm attracting someone who's on the same soul level as me.
Mhm.
My whole thing, and this is what I tell women all the time, you can only attract what you are.
Mhm.
So if you want a man who is spiritual, who's fit, who's well-traveled, who's kind, who is respectful, who has manners, you have to be that person.
Mhm.
I genuinely believe I'm that person. I don't believe I'm perfect. I
Mhm.
have a lot of things that I would like to get better at.
Mhm.
Reactivity is one of them. The Moroccan in me struggles
For
with that.
sure.
But I was married for a very long time. I met my husband really early at 24.
Oh, wow.
And we had a beautiful marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But my soul now is requesting and desiring something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. So that's where I'm at.
I'm just curious, like, just in case future hubby is listening to this podcast, like, what are some of the indicators for what you like, what you want that would maybe inspire someone like that to slide into your DMs?
I need someone funny.
Yeah.
My life is
Oh my
really
God,
serious.
yes.
So I need someone really funny because
Yeah.
I'm a total nerd. Like, I snort when I laugh. I like to be in sweatpants. I would rather sit under a tree
You like
and
to be
read a
silly?
book. I'm super goofy. I'm really adventurous.
Yeah.
Like, I like to ride dirt bikes.
Mhm.
I'm like, I was the young girl. Like, if someone was like, don't go left, we have to go right, I'd be like, let's go left. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very
You're
adventurous
curious.
and
You're
I'm
like, let's-
curious. That's always been in me. So
Yeah.
it has to be funny, it has to be adventurous, it has to be spiritual. But this is what I'm attracting. I'm just at the point where I'm fine tuning that person.
100%. Yeah, I actually went through this fascinating process of like a year ago, like defining the guy that I wanted to be with, and I just was very bold with myself. I'm like, what do I like? What do I like practically? And I was like, well, if I could choose anything, if like God was on my team and just
Which he
molding someone to like the figment of my imagination, it would be someone that's at least 6 foot tall, ideally light-eyed, and like I love green eyes because like I have green eyes, you know? So it's
So
like I
my
want to have
child
some
needs
like
light eyes.
green-eyed babies.
That's
That would be
beautiful.
great.
That's beautiful.
Good values and would be able to create with me and like live the lifestyle I live, you know, for myself and all these things.
Yeah.
And so I attracted this guy that was like stunningly handsome, like came from a wealthy family, like super classy, all these things. And he was like very dominant, very like he was like, I've never met a man like that. He was like something else, but extremely narcissistic and sociopathic. And I was like,
Happens.
okay, how about like we do someone that's all those characteristics, but not evil?
You have to be very
But not
specific with the
evil.
universe. By the way, we know this as women who understand Kabbalah. When you speak to the universe, you have to be very specific because everything I've ever pulled in, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But I forgot that part.
Totally. So then like the next guy comes in and he's like all those things but nice. But he's young and he's kind of entitled. So I'm like, okay, maybe I want all those things nice, like not entitled. So like ideally more self-made than like family money. And then like someone comes in and it's like all those things, you know, but they're like jaded because they had like 2 former relationships they thought would be their wife, and now they're like, you know
have to
when guys are
fine-tune
like
when you talk to
emotionally
God.
available but they're not.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
When you speak to the universe, because when you write these lists physically, mentally,
Yeah.
you have to be it also. Women have to understand you have to be the list that you're creating.
Yeah.
You can't want someone fit and you never go to the gym. You can't want someone successful and have no drive.
Totally.
Otherwise, someone's using someone.
Yeah.
There's not an energy flow there. You know,
Yeah.
someone's wanting more than they're giving.
Totally.
And you have to be a giver as well,
Yeah.
you know?
The most recent iteration, I like met this guy. It's like extremely early. I don't know where it will go, but it's the first guy I've met. He's like all those things, and he is just done like incredible for himself and like the world. Like he's like actually building something mission driven. He's doing a $500 million like public safety company in drones. And
That's cool.
He's 25.
Whoa.
And yeah, he's like absolutely incredible. And he also, like as a person, he's like all the qualities that I like. I'm like, wow, I finally, after 5 iterations over the course of a year, ended up with somebody that fundamentally there's no fundamentals I'd want to change. Like, of course, anyone can like, you know, go get more fit or more tan
Sure.
or whatever, but the fundamentals are there.
The core.
So
the
it's
core is
actually,
there.
it's so fascinating because this process, like there is no greater damage than to put a list, marry someone that is a list, and the relationship be devoid of chemistry, right? Like it's got to be that blend of logic and magic.
I love that.
Thank
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like so, that was deep.
you.
It has to be a blend of logic and
That's-
magic. That
that's-
is so powerful.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, And that's been the challenge, because it's like, of course, everyone wants to like frolic around and fall in love. But like, if you're a very ambitious woman, not everyone's going to work. So you have to be logical about what you want, right? And so it's been very fascinating to be through this process of magnetizing and seeing the direct data that I'm getting back. And with each little thing, I'm learning more. And now finally, I'm like, okay, we're close to the bullseye. If this isn't it, we're really close. And like that just feels incredible. And I imagine, like, because you see things quite similarly, you must be probably in a similar process.
Yeah, I am. And it's really, I'm really enjoying every chapter of my life. And I'm so honored to be in this chapter. I'm like, how lucky am I that I get to experience things from a different lens? How lucky am I that I get to experience heartbreak so I can alchemize pain into power? How lucky are we that we get to experience all these really unique moments and experiences? We're blessed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a beautiful journey to be self-aware enough to put something out there, collect data from life, iterate, collect more data, and continue to refine and like build that life, that reality that's that blend of logic and magic. It's not just purely logical. It's you're kind of relying on like
So beautiful.
external forces to
I love that so much.
Yeah.
And even deeper to blend logic and magic, but also as we shift through this universe and through this life and all the iterations of ourselves, it's important to always practice what we preach.
Absolutely.
If we're not practicing what we preach, karma does end up coming. And even though we're not perfect, humans are not perfect, it is imperative that we always stay in alignment with our inner and outer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as one of our final questions, I'd love to just, there's so many, I love talking to you because I feel like we can just talk about anything for hours. Yeah. And there's so many different, rabbit holes, pathways we can
We'll be
go.
doing that in Miami. It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And in New York City as well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to give you the space to just share some of the things that have been on your mind. And I'd love to end the podcast by giving you the space to just share, and we can be in that free flow that we tend to be in together.
Prayer and beauty are more aligned than people think. It's a tool and it's a superpower. Prayer is just a technology. It's a form of technology to elevate yourself, and so is beauty. Beauty doesn't have to be seen as a vain thing. It can be seen as a thing to reconnect with yourself, to elevate yourself. No different than the power of prayer. Prayer is not you praying to an old man in the sky with a white beard. Prayer is energy. Everything in life is energy. Humans are energy. This microphone is energy. Everything is energy. So when you speak, it's called spelling because you're creating a spell. That's where spelling comes from. Everything we do has energy. So if you're using prayer as a power for technology to create and elevate, beauty is no different. Respect yourself enough to give yourself that space. And again, you don't have to be big about it. You can start small, even at a few minutes a day. Those few minutes a day are more powerful than you could ever imagine. I know whoever's listening to this, I know you're tired.
Yeah.
I know you're tired. I know it's exhausting, but take that time. You deserve it.
Would you feel comfortable actively saying a prayer on camera?
Yes.
I'd love to just like, if I was in your head in the morning.
Wow, I've never been asked to do that.
Yeah, I'm so curious because
I usually do like the Shema Modani.
Yeah.
So when I'm in my car, the prayer that I say is really words of affirmation. You can repeat after me. I make my best friend do this. Raquel, remember the one that you met in Miami? I make her do this with me all the time because she's a lawyer. She's very practical, but she's spiritual, but her practicality sometimes gets in the way.
Yeah.
So I do this in the car every day at a stoplight. I say, I am magnetic.
I am magnetic.
I draw everything into me.
I draw everything into me.
People I attract are good, kind, and want to help me.
People I attract are good, kind, and want to help me.
I am here to add value to this life.
I'm here to add value to this life.
And I am here to shine my light to help others shine theirs.
And I'm here to shine my light to help others shine theirs.
And I stare at myself in the eyes, in the mirror, because I've realized that a lot of women don't even like to look at themselves in the mirror. There's some sort of disconnect where they don't like to look at themselves. But there's a power to
Yeah.
staring at yourself,
To
because
see
it's almost like
yourself.
telling yourself, like, get it together, get your shit together. This is me and you. The competition is right here.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
It's not anywhere else. It's right here.
Yeah.
Compete, become an athlete for yourself.
Yeah.
Become competitive to yourself.
Mental fitness, baby.
Mental fitness.
Yeah.
Speak to yourself the way you want to witness the world around you.
Absolutely. I think you're onto some very powerful stuff. It has been such an honor to meet you.
This was so fun.
And such a pleasure to get to know you. And honestly, sincere offer, would love to deepen with you. I think you're a very quality person. And as mentioned, I'm in this journey to find women to really help each other and just like be there for each other and like practice what it's like to actually have each other's backs, help each other rise, and just be like there for each other. So I'd love to be on that journey with you, because I think you have arrived to the same place of realizing like love, true love in any form, whether it's friendship, romance, you know, in any form. Is
Soulmates
like,
aren't
yeah,
just relationships.
it
They
is.
come in friendships. They come with animals. They come with children.
Yeah,
And every person that you meet, it's not by accident. So
absolutely. It is
This
what
is so
makes
fun.
life worth living.
And we're
Yeah,
two spiritual Kabbalistic women
We
in
are.
modern times. We're meant to bring light.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.